Like I don't know what it is, but then they'll meet me, and and I appreciate that because I like being estimated to that degree that you actually get to know me, and I'm humble, I'm down to earth, and I appreciate what poverty had taught me. You know what I mean? Obviously, everyone would love to grow up with stability and with financial security, but at the same time, being broke or going through certain trials and tribulations, it humbles you and it allows you to become stronger, and it builds up that hustle mentality. So I'm appreciative of it, but yeah, we was like that for a while, in and out of shelter. We got ourselves on our feet relatively. You know what I mean? And then after I started pursuing music and just being real smart. They don't teach you finances, at least the minorities. They don't teach you what to do with money, how to make money, how to put it in the right places, how to properly save, how to do all this stuff. And a lot of that knowledge was gone, and a lot of that structure was gone. So we had to raise ourselves, and we figured it out.
How was your feelings towards Fat Joe? Because I know I was interviews probably like 2013, 2012. You sat down, you did an interview. You said, "Look, I don't have no resentment for Fat Joe, but other people in your family and other people around it say, Fat Joe didn't take care of your father and your family like the way he was supposed to do it." How do you feel as a kid growing up, and now how do you feel about that situation?
Yeah, I don't know if it's weird, but I've always been like, I think that we're born with nothing. You know what I mean? I do firmly believe that we're born with nothing. I can't speak on his mentality or what he was supposed to do or what he should. I know what I would do in certain situations, and I wasn't there for every single conversation. Or I can't read his mind, and I haven't had a conversation with him to confirm anything. So I don't hold any. I'm not the type of person to hold anger or resentment or anything like that, and I don't think anybody owes me anything. Like whether it's legally, that's a different conversation, or whether it's like morally inside. Like I don't have any like entitlement or anything like that. Or the only person you're hurting is when you hold grudges and when you hold anger is yourself. You know what I mean? And I could have easily grow up in my childhood blaming A, B, C, and D and feeling this and that, but like nah, like I'm trying to pursue music. It's already been hard enough. It's already hard enough pursuing entrepreneur or music career, like, and trying to make it, like, in this game where most people, like, 99.9% of people don't make it. So at the same time combating, generational curses, and at the same time combating, misconceptions and all this inherited problems from this side and this side, and people, you know what I mean? So like, I just like, let me just steer clear of it. I don't blame, like, I'm gonna start from ground zero. I'm gonna start from nothing, and no one can say that I had any favors, or no one can say that I had a head start, and nothing like that. Like, I just, started from the bottom, and I was okay with it. You know what I mean? Like, how everyone else feels, like, I'll let them speak for themselves. But yeah, me personally, like, I'm good. Like, I'm not out here trying to just have problems with people. Like, it's all good. Yeah.
Who were some of your musical influences? Who did Chris Rivers listen to growing up as a kid, musically?
Oh, definitely. Obviously, it's funny. My pops, I heard his music statically all the time, but I never really dove into it until I was like 11, 12. No, mostly because I couldn't fully fathom everything that he was saying, at like that age. But once I was like 11, 12, and after, like, I was grasping it, and I was really just super impressed and just like proud of it. You know what I mean? I loved Eminem a lot growing up, which is probably bad for like an 8-year-old, 9-year-old listening to the LPs talking about, raping his mom and murdering shit. Like, I'm just craziness. And it's just like, but there was a lot of like Sing for a Moment, like certain songs that really, touched us. So I was really into rock music at the time, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Linkin Park, Papa Roach, like different stuff like that. I love Andre Three Stacks, Black Thought. Let's see. I was a big Michael Jackson listener when his projects came out. Like, I was really into music in general. So like, yeah, I had a lot of different types of influences, and yeah, man. Like, I didn't just stick with like hip hop, though I do hip hop, like, and I write that way, but I had a lot of external influences. Yeah, definitely.
Dope.
And I love Lupe Fiasco. He's definitely my top.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I always try to mention because I feel like he's so underrated in the craft. And the Cool, I'll never forget it, because the Cool, I was in high school at the time, and I was kind of underwhelmed with hip hop at that time. So I was mostly listening to rock music. And when the Cool came out, that really got me back. Like, that's probably why I really got into rap, because I was like, yo, like, this dude is expressing himself in a way that's different than the norm. And he's being so creative and fearless, and the bars and the stories. It was, I don't know if y'all remember the Cool, but it was crazy. And I love him too. He's amazing.
Shout out to Lupe.
Yeah.
Fear of My Crown, your video. When I seen the video come out, I think I did a story. I don't think I posted it, but I talked about it. And it was something you had to get off your chest, obviously. Could you take the people through the process of Fear of My Crown and what that symbolized to you and what that meant in your life?
Yeah, definitely. I've always been an advocate for speaking about a lot of things, whether it be mental health, depression, any type of thing. If people follow me for a long time, they can tell that I've always been on the forefront of speaking about these things. I realized there wasn't too many songs about domestic violence, and at the time I was working with different child sanctuaries and different stuff like that, just helping the youth and different things, and doing the research. I forgot the exact quotes, but it was like 10 out of 14 women, like grown women, experience domestic violence. And 7 out of 11 men experience domestic violence, and this is not even including the children. So many people, over 10 million people a year, are experiencing it, and this is something that not a lot of people talk about. And I know, like, when I spoke about depression in the past or certain things, like, it gave a lot of other people a voice that they didn't feel that they had. So I thought it was important to make a song about this. And I'm a child of domestic violence myself, so I was like, you know what? Let me make a song, but not so targeting. Like, let's make a song about the cycle of it. I think a lot of people underestimate the implications of not just the abuse side, because a lot of people focus on the abuse side, but they don't focus on the abuser unless it's to bash them, but it doesn't give context to it. And a lot of people who abuse will often abuse themselves as children. So in the video, I showed the cycle of that, the person being abused as a child, growing up to become the abuser, different things like that. And I think we have to attack it at its core. You know what I mean? The same thing that we say about white privilege. Like, that's not black people's or minorities people's job to fix white privilege. It's white people's job. That's a white issue. That's a white poison inside of them that they feel like they're entitled, and so it's outward. And the same thing goes with abusers. Like, the issue isn't the people that they're abusing or them doing something different. The issue is attacking the core of the abuser and realizing, why does this happen and how can we prevent it moving forward. So after I released the video, a lot of people were affected positively by it. I got the only backlash that I got was really from the media or from the industry itself, but the people understood what I was going for. The only people that were offended were people that thought I was either targeting my dad. And yeah, granted, like, I'm a child of domestic violence, and I think everybody talks about their stories no matter what. And I think that when your parent is famous, like in my context, my father is a very famous and known and loved person, but people love him externally. People only love him for the parts that they know about him that they glorified. I knew him as the human and as the artist at the same time. I got to see both his good and his bad side in total, and I got to experience that, and I got to forgive it, and I got to love who he was as a whole. People only love a piece of him, so when they got exposed to the other piece that they felt was there, their love was in question. So they'll go to deny it, or they'll say that I'm bashing or hating, when the song really wasn't about him or me. It was about abuse, and I had to speak from, same thing if you're rapping about depression, if you rap about drug use, if you rap about anything, if you have personal stories from it, you're going to express it, and you're going to tell it from, your perspective or perspectives that you experience. Same thing that not any storyteller does, and that's the same thing that I did. And I think that if my father was, Joe Schmo from the block, or just, like Richard or something like that, like, no one would have cared. But the fact that it's a famous, you almost can't tell the story if it, so like, but, I'm proud of what I did. There were so many people who gotten out of abusive domestic violence because of it. I got thousands of messages of people learning how to cope and face their fears after that. Like, there was a lot of lives that I saved through the music, so I'm proud, and that's priceless. Despite the industry backlash, despite the people feeling some type of way or them staring their own narratives about the situation, like, it's all good. Like, the change of the people are always gonna ride with what's genuine, and all those other narratives, they're just gonna fall by the wayside as long as I stay true to myself. So I'll always do that. You know what I mean? I always speak about the truth, whatever I'm going through or whatever I feel is powerful, people need at the moment. And that was that. Shout out to Danny Cinema for shooting the vid, and all the actors that came through, and anybody that's dealing with domestic violence right now, just please stay strong, know your worth. You don't have to be a part of it. And if anybody is on the side of committing that, like, what I'm saying, like, don't be that type. Like, seek help. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to be the person that perpetuate that. A lot of people do it because they feel like they're powerless, or they feel like they need to keep people there, or they feel like they need to enforce something. Like, you're not less than what you think. You don't need to overcompensate. Like, seek help. We love you, and just keep going.
Yeah. I think it's crazy that people got a nerve to criticize you on a situation about your father. That's your dad. Like, that's insane. But nonetheless, like how did dealing with that criticism, how did dealing with that just level of people thinking that they know you affect your mental health? And when did you realize mental health and dealing with demons was something that was important for you to have to deal with?
When it happened, it was so I was probably like 18, 19, 20 at the time. I forgot when I put that out, but it was one of those things that, like, I was already so used to public criticism at the time. Like, when I remember when I was 15, I was living in the shelter. And at the time, like, the girl I was with, she was cheating on me. I had no clothes. I was fat. Like, I felt really low about myself, like at a low point. And my man, he asked me to, like, he was like, yo, like, come out today, come to the pool, whatever. Like, and I hated public pools. I didn't feel good about all that shit. So he convinced me. I ended up going. I went. There was a time where I tried to climb out, and I climbed out. I'm wet, so all the clothes are sticking to your body. I'm past like just a group of bad, like, joints, like 5 of them, and they all just point at me and start, like, breaking out laughing, and, like, I felt so low. I'm like, and I went back, and it was at that point where I realized, I'm like, yo, like, most of what I feel about myself is indicative of what other people feel about me. It's what's thrown on me. It's their expectations. It's what they're doing. They're judging me. I'm like, yo, I'm not about to destroy myself internally based on what other people's opinions are. And it's reinforcing my negative thoughts about myself. So after that, I started doing affirmations. I started, powering myself up. I started working out. Started getting, stronger. And from there, I realized, like, yo, like, you can't really, no matter what, like, you could be Jesus Christ. You could be like somebody's gonna hate you. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what you do, someone's gonna hate you. You gotta be yourself, because you're gonna be loved or hated regardless. So it's all good. And then after I started doing music, I don't know if you noticed, but I have a gap right here. So, like, when I started doing videos, like, on World Star was the worst. Like, that's just like hate central. Like, I went on World Star, like, in the beginning, yo, bro, it ate at me. Like, I used to read it. Like, some of the jokes were good, some of them were just bad. But I was just like, yo, like, I worked my ass off. I put this out here. I did everything I could, and this is just mad gap jokes in the comments. I'm like, damn. So at first it hurt me, and then after a while, I just, like, I avoided it. And then I got back in, and now it's just like, it's nothing. I be rating them, I be commenting back, like, nah, I heard better. Like, so you develop tough skin in this. You know what I mean? You develop the reality that most people on the internet, these are just people. Like, if you're the type of person to go on the internet as somebody pursuing their dream and to write something hateful, like, or to, like, then what are you doing with yourself? Like, there is no successful, happy person that's going on the internet and hating on another human being.
That's a fact.
They're in existence. There is no, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yo, like, this is a stranger. Like, for me to let somebody else come and control me, that's control. Like, for you, for if someone's able to come and say something to you and it affects your mood, and then you giving them the power to control you. Like, I have the power to control me. So at that point, I'm like, this shit don't even it don't even matter to me. So but I felt the power in that, like, that growth. So since then, I've always been active in talking about it, between helping my friends, using my music platform, and just, doing it. So by the time this happened, I was just like, yo, like, I've been doing this for years. It's just getting, a certain amount of notoriety because it went viral. So it's exposed to a larger audience, and a larger audience means a lot more people who's going to be affected positively by it. But it means a lot more haters are going to crawl out of the woodwork. So, it is. I just got to keep going with the mission, you know what I mean? And focus on the people that I helped and changed, and not the people that's offended by me just literally telling my own story and trying to help people. But you know what I mean? Like, if you mad at me for trying to help people, that's, look into yourself.